Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. How many of you want to be wealthy? I'm not talking about just paying your bills or buying a nicer car. I'm talking about stepping into the level where money is no longer a question, but simply a tool where you design your life on purpose instead of living by accident. Today, I want to share with you the secrets of the ultra wealthy. Not the average, not the comfortable. I'm talking about those who create generational wealth and leave a legacy. Most people look at wealth as if it's something that just happens to a select few. They think it's luck, timing, or being born into the right family. That's the story most of society has been telling for years, and it's the reason so many stay stuck in the same financial cycle. But here's the truth you've got to grab hold of. Wealth is not about chance, it's about choice. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you step into your own power to create it. Think about it. Every day you're making choices. You decide whether you're going to wake up early or hit the snooze button. You decide whether you're going to invest your time in learning or waste your time in scrolling. You decide whether you're going to spend money on something that makes you look rich or invest money in something that makes you become rich. The ultra wealthy didn't get there by accident. They made choices that positioned them to win, even when it wasn't comfortable, even when it didn't make sense to everyone else. Here's a hook that will snap your thinking. If you can make choices that keep you broke, then you can make choices that build you wealth. The same energy it takes to live in lack is the same energy it takes to step into abundance. The only difference is direction. Imagine you're standing at a fork in the road. One path leads to financial struggle, paycheck to paycheck living and constant stress. The other path leads to financial freedom, options, and the ability to design your life on your own terms. Both paths are built on choices, not chance. Now, the problem is that most people choose comfort over calling. They choose ease over growth. They choose what looks good right now instead of what will last for decades. And then they wonder why their bank account doesn't change. Let me give you an example. When an average person gets $1 and dollars in, the first thought is, what can I buy? When a wealthy person gets $1,000 in, the first thought is, how can I multiply this? That's not luck. That's choice. One chooses consumption, the other chooses investment. And those small choices compound into completely different outcomes. Another hook for you. Every wealthy person you admire once stood where you are right now. They had doubts, fears, and uncertainty. But they made a choice to move anyway. That's the separation line. The ultra wealthy don't wait for the economy, the government, or their job to decide their destiny. They understand that if it's going to be, it's up to me. They choose responsibility over excuses. And responsibility is the seed of wealth. So let me challenge you today. What choices are you making? Are you choosing to stay in the same cycle because it feels safe? Or are you willing to make the hard choice that leads to freedom? Wealth doesn't come by accident, and it doesn't fall out of the sky. It's built decision by decision, moment by moment. The ultra wealthy know that every choice today is either a brick in the foundation of abundance or a chain that keeps you tied to mediocrity. Which one are you laying down right now? When most people look at an opportunity, the first question they ask is, how much does it cost? That one question has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Because when you start by focusing on the cost, you automatically close your mind to the possibility of value. The ultra wealthy don't look at the price tag first. They ask a completely different question. What will it make me? That simple shift is the difference between living in limitation and living in abundance. Here's the hook. Cost is an expense, but value is an investment. If you only ever think in terms of cost, you'll always see money as something that leaves you. If you start thinking in terms of value, you'll begin to see money as something that multiplies for you. That's why two people can see the exact same opportunity. One walks away because it costs too much, and the other steps in because the value far outweighs the price. 10 years later, one is still complaining about prices while the other is enjoying financial freedom. Same opportunity, different perspective. Think about the difference between buying a car and buying a course. The average person will spend 40,000 on a car that loses value the moment they drive it off the lot. But they'll hesitate to spend 4,000 on a program that could teach them how to create a business and make 400,000. Why? Because they are trained to see price, not value. The wealthy understand that the return is always greater than the investment when you invest wisely. They know that the money you spend on knowledge, skills, and assets doesn't leave you. It comes back multiplied. Here's another hook. The poor and middle class ask, can I afford it? The wealthy ask, what will this afford me? That question changes everything. Because affordability is not just about your bank account, it's about your vision. If you only look at what you can afford right now, you'll always stay at your current level. But if you look at what this decision can afford you in the future, freedom, income, impact, you'll begin to make choices that elevate your life. Let me break it down even further. When you spend money, it's gone. When you invest money into value, it creates a return. That's why wealthy people don't mind paying more for something that produces results. They'll gladly invest in mentorship, coaching, businesses, and assets because they know every dollar can become a seed. And when you plant seeds, you don't cry about the cost of the seed. You celebrate the harvest that's coming. So here's the real question. Are you a consumer or are you a creator? Consumers focus on price, creators focus on value. Consumers ask, what will this take from me? Creators ask, what will this make for me? And that one shift separates financial struggle from financial freedom. The ultra wealthy understand that value is not about what it costs today. It's about what it creates tomorrow. Most people have been taught that the only way to get ahead is to work harder, grind longer, and trade more of their life for money. That's why you see people working 2 jobs, pulling overtime, and still barely making it. The truth is, no matter how hard you work, there are only 24 hours in a day, and if your income is tied only to your labor, your ceiling is already set. The ultra wealthy understand something most people miss: leverage. They know that wealth is not built by labor alone, but by multiplying effort through systems, people, and money. Here's the hook. If the only hands working for your money are your own, you're already broke. The wealthy don't ask, how can I do more? They ask, how can I get more done without me? That question opens the door to leverage. Think about it if you're trading your hours for dollars. The moment you stop working, the money stops flowing. But if you use leverage, your income continues even when you're not present. That's why someone working 80 hours a week can still be broke, while someone else working 20 hours a week can be wealthy. It's not about how hard you work, it's about how smart you leverage. One of the most powerful forms of leverage is financial leverage. The ultra wealthy put their money to work. They don't just save it in a bank account where it earns less than 1%. They invest it into assets that multiply, real estate, businesses, stocks, and ideas that produce income streams. While the average person spends money and loses it, the wealthy invest money and duplicate it. Money is their employee, and it works 20, 4 hours a day, 7 days a week without ever calling in sick. Another kind of leverages people. The ultra wealthy don't try to do everything themselves. They build teams, hire talent, and delegate tasks so they can focus on the highest value activities. While the middle class brags about being a one-man show, the wealthy understand that no empire is built alone. Every successful person you admire has a team behind them. They're not more talented than you. They just chose to leverage other people's time, skills, and energy to multiply their results. And then there's systems leverage. Wealthy people build businesses that run with or without them. They create processes, automation, and structures that keep generating income while they focus on growth and vision. That's why they can take vacations while their businesses still produce revenue. Meanwhile, someone else takes a day off and loses money instantly. That's the difference between labor and leverage. Here's the final hook. If you're not using leverage, you're living in limitation. Every hour you spend without creating a system, every dollar you earn without multiplying it, every task you handle that someone else could do better is costing you wealth. The ultra wealthy don't ask, what will it cost me to use leverage? They ask, what is it costing me not to? That shift is what separates those who grind their whole lives from those who build lives of freedom. Most people believe that if they just had more money, all their problems would be solved. They think the answer is in the paycheck, the promotion, or the business deal. But the truth is this: if your mindset is poor, your money won't stay. That's why so many people win the lottery and end up broke again within a few years. It wasn't the money that failed them. It was the mindset they brought to the money. The ultra wealthy know something that most people overlook. You must upgrade your mindset before you ever upgrade your bank account. Here's the hook: money doesn't change who you are, it amplifies who you are. If you're careless with $100, you'll be careless with 100,000. If you make excuses with little, you'll make bigger excuses with much. Wealthy people invest in their minds first because they understand that your mind is the factory where your future is built. If the factory is broken, the product will always come out broken. But if the factory is upgraded, everything that comes out of it improves. Think about this. Why is it that two people can go through the same business program and learn the same skills, and one succeeds wildly while the other fails? It wasn't the program that determined the outcome. It was the mindset of the person applying it. The wealthy understand that the real battle is not in the market, it's in the mind. Until you master your thoughts, you'll never master your money. Another hook: your income will never grow beyond your identity. If you see yourself as someone who's just getting by, you will unconsciously sabotage any chance to build wealth. Because deep down, your mindset doesn't allow you to see yourself as wealthy. That's why wealthy people spend tens of thousands on mentorship, coaching, and personal development. They know that the most valuable investment they will ever make is in themselves. Once you raise the level of your thinking, you automatically raise the level of your results. The average person avoids personal growth because it feels intangible. They'd rather buy things they can touch, new clothes, new gadgets, new entertainment. But the wealthy understand that the invisible always precedes the visible. You change your inner world first, and then your outer world follows. If you want a bigger bank account, you need a bigger belief system. If you want financial breakthroughs, you need mental breakthroughs. Here's the challenge: are you feeding your mind excuses, or are you feeding it empowerment? Every book you read, every conversation you have every environment you step into is either expanding your wealth mindset or reinforcing your poverty mindset. The ultra wealthy intentionally surround themselves with people who stretch them, who make them think bigger, who hold them accountable to higher standards. They know that mindset is contagious and they refuse to catch mediocrity. So understand this, the size of your thinking will always determine the size of your life. If you keep trying to upgrade your bank account without upgrading your mindset, you'll find yourself back where you started every time. But when you shift your mindset, your habits change, your decisions change, and your income can't help but follow. Most people approach money as if it's something you chase. They believe the goal is to close as many deals as possible, to push harder in sales, to pressure people into buying. But the ultra wealthy see money differently. They know money doesn't chase, it's attracted. And what attracts money more than anything else is service. True wealth is not created by simply making sales. It is created by solving problems. The greater the problem you solve, the greater the reward you receive. Here's the hook. Money is nothing more than a certificate of appreciation for the value you bring to the marketplace. If you want more money, bring more value. The person who solves a small problem gets paid a small amount. The person who solves a massive problem gets paid massively. Look around you. Every billionaire you can name became wealthy because they solved problems for millions of people. Wealth always follows service. Now, this is where most people miss it. They think service means charity, giving things away for free, or doing good without reward. But service in the wealth equation is about creating impact. It's about asking yourself, how can I make someone's life easier, better, or faster? That one question, asked consistently, can unlock opportunities you never imagined. The ultra wealthy don't sell products, they provide solutions. They don't just make transactions, they create transformations. Here's another hook, stop asking, how can I make more money? And start asking, how can I serve more people at a higher level? When you change that question, your income will automatically change. Most people are stuck in small money because they're stuck solving small problems. They spend their time competing at the bottom, fighting over scraps, instead of rising to the top where the real impact and real income is created. Think about it. When someone invents a phone that puts the world in your pocket, they don't just make money, they make history. When someone creates a system that saves businesses millions, they don't just earn a paycheck, they earn wealth. And here's the reality, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You simply need to serve in a way that's better, faster, or more effective than the person next to you. Service is the secret sauce of wealth. The wealthy understand that when you focus on money, you chase it and it runs from you. But when you focus on value and service, money chases you. People will line up, opportunities will find you, doors will open, not because you begged for them, but because you became too valuable to be ignored. That's why the ultra wealthy wake up every day thinking about impact, not income. They know that income is just the echo of impact. So let this truth hit you. If you want to increase your income, increase your impact. Solve bigger problems, serve more people, bring more value. Money doesn't come because you want it. It comes because you've earned it through service. The ultra wealthy have mastered this principle, and the moment you make it your mindset, wealth will begin to flow to you in ways you never thought possible. Every journey to wealth begins at the exact same place, and it's not a bank account, a business plan, or an investment portfolio. It begins with a decision. The ultra wealthy don't wait for perfect timing, the right circumstances, or someone else's approval. They make a decision that they will not settle for average. And that decision becomes the foundation for everything they build. Until you decide, nothing changes. The day you decide is the day your future is born. Here's the hook. Indecision is more expensive than any wrong decision you could ever make. While most people spend years debating, doubting, and delaying, the wealthy are deciding, doing, and developing. That's why opportunities keep showing up for them. Because they have already decided they are worthy of them. If you keep waiting until you feel ready, you'll spend your life watching others live the dream you were designed for. Readiness doesn't come before the decision. Readiness is created after you make the decision. Think about this. Every person you admire who has built extraordinary wealth was once at a crossroads. They had fears, doubts, and uncertainties just like you. The difference is they chose to move anyway. They didn't let the fear stop them from deciding. They knew that if they waited for the perfect moment, the moment would never come. Wealth doesn't belong to the hesitant. It belongs to the decisive. Here's another hook. Your future is being held hostage by the decisions you refuse to make. Every day you postpone deciding to step into wealth, you extend your stay in mediocrity. People often say, one day I'll start. One day I'll invest. One day I'll go after my dream. But one day is code for never. The ultra wealthy don't live in one day. They live in day one. The moment they see an opportunity, they decide, and that decision sets everything in motion. Now understand this, the decision to create wealth is not just about money. It's about identity. When you decide, you shift who you are, you stop being someone who settles and start being someone who builds. You stop thinking like a victim and start thinking like a victor. That decision shapes your actions, and your actions shape your results. The wealthy don't wait to see it. Before they decide, and then they see it. Faith and decision go hand in hand. So here's the question that only you can answer: have you really decided? Not hoped, not wished, not dreamed, decided. Because the moment you truly decide, you cut off every other option. You burn the bridges to excuses, you close the doors to mediocrity, and you lock in on wealth as your only direction. That kind of decision carries a power that nothing can stop. The ultra wealthy know this. That's why they move differently. They don't ask if it's possible. They've already decided it is. Here's the final hook. Wealth doesn't start with money in your hand. It starts with a decision in your heart. The day you decide, the universe rearranges, doors open, and resources appear. You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You just need a decision. And once you make it, everything else will align.